So before I do that, I think it would be proper to give you an introduction, a very brief introduction to who Ahmad Sirhindi is, because, this is not a true answer, but I've just finished an article and I found on the web something from the civil service exam for the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and one of the questions on that exam is, who was the real founder of the two-nation theory? And the correct answer, according to my understanding, is Abu Kalam Azad. But you will, if you take this test for the Pakistani civil service, you will not get that question correct unless you answer Ahmad Sirhindi. Just for those of you who are going to be, might be taking that test. But I think that it's important to realize that Ahmad Sirhindi has more significance than we might realize on the first glance. And I don't want to exaggerate his importance either. He was born in 1556, around 1556, in the town of Sirhind, which is why he's called Ahmad Sirhindi. This is a town that's in present-day Punjab in India. And his father, Abdul Ahad, was not only a recognized alim, a religious scholar, but also a Chishti sheikh. And so he learned about Sufism and the religious sciences first from his father, as is normal. And he went on to study the religious sciences from one of the most acclaimed religious scholars of the time, Abdul Hakim Sialkoti. And then he went on to find his fortune in Delhi, because that was the seat of the Mughal Empire. And he didn't particularly have a good experience in Akbar's court. And so he went back to Sirhind, and a series of events happened. One within a few months of each other. One was that his father-in-law was hung or somehow killed by Akbar's government. There were very few public executions in Akbar's reign, and his father-in-law was killed by the government because his father-in-law protested that Muslims couldn't kill cows, and his father-in-law thought that this is something, since there's Muslim rule, that Muslims ought to be able to do this. And unfortunately, within a month, his father passed away. So this was a major crisis for anybody, to have those two things happen within a month. But mashallah, within 2 months after that, he met his sheikh, his paramount sheikh, Buehler, who was originally born in Kabul and had traveled to Samarkand, and then had been told by his sheikh to come to New Delhi. And that's where Ahmad Sirhindi, rahmatullah alayh, finally became, I don't know how to describe it, but he finally was able to experience God in some way, some profound way, and within 3 months, which is a very short period of time, his Sheikh Buehler gave him permission to teach. And as they say in English, the rest is history. And so from that time, Ahmad Sirhindi became a very famous person in northern India. He had at least hundreds, if not thousands, of murids, many who went back to their native lands in Central Asia and other places in India. And by the time that he passed away in 1624, the Mujaddid, it's called the Mujadidi because Mujaddid means renewer. The Naqshbandi Mujadidi had spread back to Central Asia and many places in Afghanistan. Not yet, but very soon was to go to Turkey, and within the next 2 generations, the Naqshbandi Mujadidi had basically supplanted the Naqshbandi. Because, you might say, well, what happened? Well, we don't know exactly what happened, but one of the things that happened on the level of Sufism was that Ahmad Sirhindi pioneered an incredibly effective method of spiritual practice. And this is something that is even acknowledged by other Sufi lineages in India. We have something from Kalimullah, who was a Chishti sheikh in the 18th century, counseling one of his students who was teaching. He said, look, if your students want to learn the Naqshbandi methods, teach it to them, because everyone knows it's the fastest way. So this was something that was a very powerful method, and evidently one that spread very quickly. So I would like to, that's just a very brief blurb or history of Ahmad Sirhindi and his importance.